Yo, what's up, everybody? Yeah, hold your horses. It's 11:02. I was a little bit late. As you can tell, I'm under a big old umbrella right now. It is raining outside. Usually I say, hey man, it's a beautiful day outside. Well, today it's not one of those days. Bear with me as I get my technology together. There we go. It's going to be a little tricky today. So once again, we are in Eastern Market. Welcome to Murals in the Market Live. I'm your host, Jason Hall with Ride Detroit, the Jason of all trades on Instagram. Man, it is a windy, cold day in Detroit, but I'm out here giving the people what they want, man. You gotta give it to them. So, hey, welcome back. Every Saturday, we go live 11 a.m. with a different artist from around the world. This week's guest is Taylor White from Raleigh, North Carolina. But before we get to her, I'm gonna go ahead and do my house cleaning from last week. Man, oh man. Last week's guest, sorry. Once again, I'm trying to control my umbrella. Last week's guest, Tony Hooligan, man, off the hook. I've been trying to get Tony for a while. It was well worth the wait. So we got Tony on. It was amazing. He gave mad knowledge on the last 10 years of really what it took for him to get to where he's at. So that was awesome. If you want to check that out, you can, of course, check that out on the Murals in the Market Instagram. It lives there. And it also lives on the Ride Detroit YouTube page, which is rather new. So we're trying to get our subscribers up on that. So if you want to go over to the Ride Detroit YouTube page and give it a like, feel free to do that. But man, let's see if you can see. Once again, my tech is moving slow. I'm going to give you guys a view of what it looks like out here. Whew. Doing all kinds of stuff. Hold on here. Woo-wee. Yeah, man. So there we are. I am on the corner of Gratiot and St. Aubin right now, man. This is the first time I've actually had to really deal with like the elements but this umbrella that I bought is actually really dope, man. So it's actually not even touching. Yo! As soon as I said that, my umbrella just literally exploded. Look at this. I'm not stopping though. I'm not stopping. Look at this. That was the best $69 I ever spent. They did say it was a golf, umbrella. So, well, que sera, sera. As we move forward. Oh no, don't go in the street. Hold on. Now I gotta chase my umbrella. Okay, all right. Because I don't want to litter, man. So, I'm gonna get to Taylor White in 1 second. As soon as I put my umbrella, a cheaply purchased Amazon umbrella. Jeff Bezos owes us all some money, but now he owes me a few more dollars. Dang, don't scratch the car. Alright, so we're going to leave that right there. But like I said, man, look, it's actually not even raining that bad. So let's keep this thing going. Whatever. Let's get to it. Let's get to it before it does start to rain. I see Taylor's waiting for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Taylor White from Raleigh, North Carolina. Hey!
Hey!
What's going on?
Man, I don't envy you at all. It's like shit out there.
You know what? It's actually, for Michigan right now, it could be way worse. You know what I mean? I don't have gloves on. Like, it could be 2 feet of snow. So,
yeah.
I might have had a casualty in an umbrella, but that's all right. I'm willing to sacrifice.
Snow's at least nice, though. Like, not, wind and water in your face.
Well, there was wind for 1 second, and that's what actually destroyed my umbrella. And now it's not even windy at all.
It's an act of God. It was trying to make a comment on your purchasing decisions.
Right. Hopefully Amazon will take it back. Anyway, you are warm inside your studio. So crazy. I was talking to you yesterday about how, before you even got booked for this through Producer Paige, that's the name I've given her, Producer Paige. She's awesome. She should have a personality because people think it's just me that makes this happen, but it's actually Paige that does a lot of this with me. But before Paige booked you, I started following you on Instagram, and I actually watched an entire studio tour that you gave of the studio that I think you're in right now.
Yeah, very same one. It was much cleaner in the original video than it is now. I've got like
Nah, I'm
shit
gonna
going
go.
on in here.
I'm gonna rat you out. It was a little dirtier. It was still about the same.
It was clean. The table was clean. I promise you that.
The table, okay, I'll give you
At
that.
least I'm pretty sure. I mean, I
The
guess
table, it might have been
there's
clean.
evidence.
So what's
So
going on? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's actually a lovely day in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I
What's
don't know what y'all are doing living in Michigan or anything like that, but
Well, you were just here and you had to deal with a little bit of our weather. We'll get into that in a little
I
while, but
did. Yeah.
yeah, so you had a taste of it. We'll like I said, we'll talk about that. But so what's going on? What are you up to today, man? What's happening?
What am I up to today? Well, first on the agenda was this interview, and then I've got a couple of mural projects I'm working on conceptualizing right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah, man.
uh, January is actually going to be a busy month for me, unusually. It's usually a
Yeah.
slow month, but
Why do you think it is that January is busier than usual?
I think I got a couple of indoor projects, and they all want their thing around the same time. It kind of happens that way more often than not, you know.
So are you feeling a little bit of
Um,
stress right now going
it's
into
good.
the
I'm happy.
holidays?
No, it's actually good. Like I feel a little bit more alive when there's a little bit of pressure. So,
Okay. Okay.
you know,
Okay.
there's
That's what's
I
up.
like rest and relaxation, but there's such a thing as too much. So,
No, I love staying busy. When I'm not busy, I feel weird. Like I feel like I'm not doing enough. And so whenever there's gaps, I'm always trying to find something to do, but that's the weirdo in me. You know what I mean? I just don't
yeah,
understand off days.
that's I don't know if that's just a cultural thing for all of us, like the idea that we always should be doing something, but I you're not the only one. I experienced that myself, and I know lots of people that can commiserate. So,
So yeah, yeah. So look,
it's hard to just enjoy the present moment sometimes.
so let's talk back. Let's go back because everybody always asks. They always think, where do these artists get started? Did they go to school? Did they start, a lot of people say doing graffiti in the street. I mean, talk about where you. Let's talk about. Let's go way back when you were a kid because there's always a story where somebody says, when I was a kid, I knew already that this was going to be me. Was there that time in your life?
I think it was probably about 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Talk to me about that enlightening moment at 2.5.
I mean, I don't know. I've got drawings that date back to roughly that time, and so I think it was always just one of those things that I was really drawn to and really enjoyed doing, and you know, that was the way I spent my time a lot as a kid and stuff. So, as I grew old, I used to get attention for my drawing, and I think that probably motivated me to keep doing it. Um,
Okay.
and so it's like it's just one of those things that after a while you just sort of identify yourself as like the person that people are, you know, people are interested in the art that they're making, you know. So that just sort of just became the life, and it was never really a question of like if, it was just a matter of how, you know.
So you never went through like when I was growing up, not to date myself, if I had told my mom I wanted to be an artist, she would have laughed me out of the room. She wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor. Was there ever a time in your life where maybe your family was that, or you were one of
Not
the
at all.
lucky ones?
My family was super supportive. I think my mom had like my drawings evaluated by a psychologist when I was like 3 or something, because she was like, "There's not supposed to be like all of this detail," and like I drew like human people with fully formed like faces and things and stuff. So she was always really excited to nurture that, I guess, and so I always got like art supplies and whatever from when I was really young, and my dad used to bring home printer paper, like the dot matrix stuff that is all in a like it's all connected,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
so you pull it out and
Absolutely.
it's like a ream. I used to just draw like all over that all the time and talk to myself. Um,
Do you have some of
and
that
so
left? Does your
sure,
parents? My
yeah. I
mom
mean,
saves everything. You know what I mean? Do your
yeah,
parents?
I
Did they
think
save it?
they saved some of it. Yeah, but ooh, I think I Did I lose you for a second? Save some of it.
Go. I might get a little interruption because I'm getting rained on right now. I think that was a
Yeah.
little bit of it, but we're back to it. So don't keep going. If you ever see me
All
disappear,
right.
just keep going. Because the rain
Keep
is
talking.
picking
Okay.
up a tad. Just keep going. So your parents are
Yeah.
like mine, and they save everything.
They were supportive, and they saved a lot of things. Not everything, but a lot of things. And so I think their whole thing was always like, well, if you're gonna do it, like you need to make you need to make a living. That was the most important thing. Like, not you should have a certain career or not, but like if you're gonna have this career, you need to figure out a way to make a living doing it.
So
You know. So
already back then they were talking to you about the business end of things.
pretty much. I mean, pretty much.
Okay, that's cool because all the time we get into that when we're talking about this. We always get into the business end of things. So it's
Yeah.
important that is very important that people understand that. So you had a clear understanding that this was going to be a career and not just a hobby. So at that time, did you start sort of figuring out a path?
Pretty much. I mean, I think there was like whenever I started going to high school and getting into AP classes and having to get ready for like college admissions and stuff, that's when I kind of got belligerent and rebelled against it for a little while. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just go to like a regular university and study the humanities, you know?
That was your rebellion.
That was
Most
my
people
rebellion, my
rebel
very
and go the
brief
other
teenage
way.
rebellion of like, I'll just go study psychology. That lasted for like a month or something, and then I went to SCAD.
Okay, right.
Um,
The threats did not work, is what you're saying. They were like, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I just got belligerent whenever it was like, oh, we're gonna now evaluate your work based on measured criteria, and I was like, fuck that, like that's annoying, you know. So
All right.
having to do AP portfolio prep and all of that stuff,
Yeah,
that was Bill. That
not
was
a good
Bill.
look. Not a
Yeah,
good look. So off to art school you go
I did.
after
I
that?
went to Savannah College of Art and Design. It's the only school I applied to, and
Really?
yeah. I
You-
like applied, and then I was going to apply to a few more, but I got into SCAD and I had seen it and liked it, and I liked the South, so I was just like, well, all right, I'll head to SCAD. And and then yeah, it was great. I loved living in Savannah, and you know, at the time too, it was the idea of like, okay, I have to figure out a way to get a commercial follow a commercial path, and SCAD is really known for that, you know, career-based education. So I thought I was going to study animation at first for some
Okay.
reason. I don't remember where I got that idea, but I took, you know, first year animation classes and then realized I didn't really enjoy drawing the same thing over and over again hundreds of times. So switched majors in the second year to illustration and graduated with a BFA in illustration,
And
and
so
then started
okay.
painting.
And then
Yeah.
started nah man, started painting. What was your first, so when you say you started painting, what does that mean? What was your first project, or was there a something you did that was focused that you would say now I started painting? Was it a mural?
Yeah, I think so. There, I guess there's a little bit of history in between those 2 points that I'll touch on real quick. I went to Norway. I got a job straight out of college working at an ad agency doing pre-production, like storyboarding and stuff, and that was in Oslo, Norway. And you know, worked in that field, worked at that job for like 3 years, and eventually just starting to feel a little like demoralized because I just really felt not super creative. Like, and meanwhile, I had, you know, had a friend who ran a gallery in Oslo. He happened to be an Australian guy, Elwyn Bradshaw, wherever you are. And he gave me my first show. He was like, you know, you should probably. I had an interest in painting always, but always thought it was like not viable, you know. And so then I just got the opportunity to start experimenting and did my first gallery show in Oslo. And then when I, after that, left that job and moved to Australia, that's when I got into like muraling, like the possibility of actually putting work up in the street being something that I could pursue. Because before that, that's just not something that was there for me
Right.
as a possibility, you know.
Did you ever feel like, I feel like I should live on the other side and live illegal and see what that side might feel like?
Repeat the question.
Did you ever feel like, like the essence of all this, a lot of people say, is in street art. Did you
Hmm.
ever feel a pull to see what it felt like to be on that side, to do more street art as opposed to just commissioned art? Because it sounds like right off, you were pretty much doing everything that was like by the books.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time post SCAD kind of unlearning the by the books approach. You know, I never really felt like a graffiti artist. I've dabbled, you know, but I never really felt like, you know, marauding was kind of my scene, you know. Like I always got caught as a kid, so I wasn't really a rule breaker. Got, you know, beat out of me early on, so I just was just kind of like, okay, well, I was always open to experimenting with different techniques and approaches and stuff, but like I wouldn't categorize myself as having come from graffiti in any
Right,
way,
right.
shape, or
Oh,
form.
no, no,
Even as I have done some illegal work with other artists and stuff. It's just like I
no,
don't have an
no,
illustrious career in tagging or anything.
no, by all means. I didn't, I just have to ask the question because sometimes
Sure,
people
yeah. I
ask
mean,
it, you know what I
there's
mean?
always that sort of like, oh, well, if all of the other prominent artists in my field have come from graffiti, like where do I fit in that landscape? You know, there's a little bit of that early on, but now it's just kind of like, well, everybody kind of comes from everywhere. It's a very like eclectic scene, and it's evolved a little bit more, and it's a lot more. It's, you know, open and
No, absolutely.
broad.
And the majority of people I meet, honestly, they haven't lived that life. You know
Sure.
what I mean? I think it's just sort of this old school way of thinking that because it's big and it's on a wall, that it must have come from this thing that has this sort of inception in that. But
I
really,
think
they're
it did
two
though.
different things. Yeah, I mean,
They are. I mean, I think they're two different things, but they merged at a certain point. Like muraling has its own pedigree, and then street art and graffiti have theirs and lineage and everything, and then street art, like as the two kind of merged together at some point, or at least crossed, graffiti artists, like people who had the tools and techniques from graffiti and street art, started implementing those in muraling, and now they have a very strong root and kind of a debt to graffiti and street art and how they're being presented now. Because, you know, you're using spray like street art techniques and graffiti techniques mixed with fine art techniques, so it's very different today than like traditional muraling.
right, right. No, for sure, for sure. And
So
I wanted people to hear that because, like I said, I do the tours and I try to explain it. But then people are like, well, what are you? And I'm like, well, maybe it would be better explained by an artist. So thank you for
yeah.
kind of giving your opinion on that. All right, so now you're doing art and then you're a full-fledged artist. Do you remember what your first like paying gig was? Because I asked some people and they're like, yeah, man. And what it was?
What was my first paying gig? Oh my gosh, I don't. Um, do you mean like my first paid mural or like my
Yeah,
first?
like your first paid mural. Or first, or any time like somebody recognized your art and said, I'd like you to pay you for your art to be a part of something I'm doing.
Yeah, I did. I I got my first paid gig out of a free gig that I had done. Um, I had done some work for Sean Hossick, who runs Jetty Roller in Melbourne, which is now like a super big deal. And back then it was just starting out and it was kind of feel like figuring itself out. Jetty Roller was actually the cafe that was underneath the studio space. And so, but they threw these street art, like laneway parties, and brought graffiti artists in to like do installations and stuff. And I got invited to do one. And the piece that I did was really well received, and like actually got a commission based on that piece for a private commission. So that was back in Melbourne, and then I started working, you know, getting some agency representation while I was in Melbourne, and got little odds and ends jobs here and there, live painting, selling little works and stuff, being part of group shows and everything. And so that it started there. It really, I really started having it be and feel viable while I was living in Melbourne. It was
Yeah.
a very open, like, environment for
At,
art
at,
related
at this
pursuits.
time, had you like established a style, or were you just sort of doing
No,
what came to you?
I mean, I was still figuring out my style. Like, I probably only figured out my style like 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I've
Okay.
been at this for 10. So, like, it's all been about, like, you know, experimenting and using what the resources and tools available in the moment and doing the best you can with that and learning from it. I think I had this idea that I had to already know everything before I did something, and that like, that approach can really hold you back, you know. So
So, okay. Yeah.
being willing to be vulnerable with your work is really kind of the best way forward. Is like, okay, well, I don't really know what I was doing when I made this, but here it is.
Okay. So talk about the process. When you decide to do a mural, you know, how do you start designing or deciding what's going to go on that wall, or do you have something already sort of in your mind picked out for spaces?
Uh, these days it's a little different. Well, for the one that you're standing next to, I'll tell you how that happened. Was I was actually invited by Dalek, who has the other half of that wall, to sort of, help him out and do a little bit of a collaboration. But I didn't have a plan for that wall, and I didn't even have my own materials. It was his materials and what I had been kind of currently experimenting with. And so, like, that was really kind of a fly by night thing, because I was up there and I didn't have a plan, but I had a lot of at like photo references that I had taken for some hand studies that I was doing. And so I really literally just took a picture of that wall and overlaid some of the images, and just thought, like, this is what's going to look good, and this is what I have the means to accomplish. So I kept it pretty simple for that one, but it was really just like slapping some photo. I think I used my phone the whole time. I like took a picture and overlaid it in a little app, and then just copied the picture. But in, like, nowadays I'm a little more planned and a little more measured, but it really is just kind of like I have the basic composition. I usually have a picture that I'm working from of the wall, because it's much easier for me to conceptualize space when I have, like, a direct reference. So I'll actually, like, take my design and actually mock it up on the wall before I'm finished with it. But it is like, it is a lot of digital collage these days, and a lot of mocking things up and testing things out and
So
that
this
kind of thing.
is
Was that a clear answer? I hope it was. I don't know. It sounded
no,
incredibly.
sounded great. Absolutely no. So this is from 2015. So I was telling people
Yeah.
you're one of the OGs of the murals in the market. How did you end up working with Ruler and the guy?
I got invited into a group show like in 2014 at Interstate Gallery, and how I got found for that, I'm not. Oh, no! I do know. Yeah, I've been working with One X Run for like a couple of years prior. I did a really popular release with them, I think probably 2012 or 2013. And so I was already in their roster of artists from that. And then I got invited into the group show at Interstate. And then when I was up there for that show, they were planning the first murals in the market. So I just reminded Rula that I should be put on the list.
Right
Uh,
on.
yeah.
So
And
you
so,
were
yeah,
you
that's
were
how I got
already
invited.
into it before it was I mean, because it wasn't a big thing. So you were kind of taking sort of a leap of faith into a project at that time that hadn't really established itself as being this, Smithsonian, saying it's one of the best mural projects in the world. It was literally just an art project at that
Oh,
time.
wow. Yeah, that's cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, man. Yeah,
Um,
they're rad.
Yeah, they
You
did a
guys are
great.
right.
Yeah, it was a little different back then, and was definitely. I mean, but they did a great job from the beginning, taking care of artists. And at the time, that was 2015, so I was still just kind of like excited to have the opportunity to come somewhere and paint.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so yeah, they had a great roster. They had great programming, and they treated us all really well. So it was a really fun time. And so I think that when I came up for the second time, because this one here is actually for maybe the second, I think it was for the third Murals in the Market. Does
2015,
that sound right?
2015 is like the second.
The second, okay, yeah. So I guess it was the second Murals in the Market, something like that. Anyway, and
It
so
was big.
yeah, I wasn't actually formally invited to that one. Um,
So,
like Dalek just, I had, Dalek lives in Raleigh, and I had been working with him on one of his projects, and was just talking about going up there, and I was kind of lamenting about like missing friends. I had like the rest of, there were going to be people there that I hadn't seen in years, and I would have really loved to see, and so I was like mentioning that to him, and he said, "Well, why don't you just come up and take some of my wall, because I don't really want to do a wall that huge for this." So, I mean, we ran it by Rula and the powers that be, and just made sure, but they were so super excited about it. So
of
I
course,
just kind of came up and took care of myself and used his materials to do it. So that was another reason I kind of kept the design a little simple, because I didn't have my own like stock of materials and stuff.
I always get these stories of people how they sort of got in the back door
Yeah.
of doing murals in the market, and so that's one of those stories for sure. Have you been
Yeah, well, that's
before before we get into Ann Arbor? Have you been back to Detroit to do anything since 2015?
um I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Okay,
It
okay.
was just then. Yeah, and just to touch on the point of getting in the back door, like, people keep asking, like, "Oh, how can I get in?" And sometimes it's just like, that's how, like, you have to sort of take matters into your own hands. Don't be like a jerk about it, but be confident and invite yourself. A lot of the opportunities I've gotten through my life has been done that way. Sorry.
Is there one story that you can go into that other than this one, where you sort of backdoored in, where you feel like,
Oh yeah, I got invited to Blink Cincinnati because I backdoored in, and I ran in. I met the organizer in Miami had that year, and then they had already put their roster together for that project, and they were throwing a dinner for the artists on the roster, all of whom I was friends with. And so I, you know, invited myself to the dinner. I mean, I asked John, I was like, "Hey, John, can I join you for the dinner?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And so,
oh, I lost your voice for a second. Yeah.
and we both went, I talked to one of the other organizers and said, "Hey, is there space for us?" And they put it together. So that was it. It's just like, be nice to people and like, you know, show
I
up.
think I think that's sort of the spirit of what we do. You know what I mean? It is sort of one of those things where it's better to walk in and say, "Hey, I'm here," than sometimes to send the resume ahead of time. It doesn't even make sense to do that a lot of the time. So, no, that seems like the proper way of doing it, actually, in my book.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, there's no trick really. It's just like, be a person and be nice to people and connect with them authentically and be fun to be around, I guess.
So you're
Don't
just
just like, I
assuming
mean,
that
it's like,
you're
it's not hard.
wait. You're just assuming you're fun to be around.
I'm fun to be around. Ask
Okay.
anyone.
I'm just making sure you're like be fun to be around. I'm like, wait a minute. That's for others to determine. No, no, that's awesome. So you're fun to be around. You're a party. Uh, so you were just recently here in Ann Arbor, man, doing some work, and it's funny because we have been warm and then we got cold for like A week.
The week that I was there, you got cold. Yeah.
Somebody, okay. Verani is saying that you are fun to be around. They can
Ronnie,
attest.
right
Okay,
on.
so,
Thanks for the vouch.
all right, so you are getting some cosigns. But talk to me about Ann Arbor, how you ended up doing Ann Arbor.
The organizers for Ann Arbor had been in touch with me a while back. Like, I think they had wanted to bring me up for some time. They, maybe I don't know how long, maybe a year before, they like tried to bring me up for a different project, and that project ended up going to somebody else. But then when they organized this festival, they asked me again. So it was just one of those things. Like, I guess they might have been following me or seen my work elsewhere or something. And and that's how a lot of projects happen, these days. But so yeah, they invited me up, and we had then obviously, like, kind of, I think it was supposed to happen way earlier, and then COVID happened, and as everybody knows how that panned out for a lot of people. So that it ended up getting postponed until roughly September. So I think it was originally supposed to be like an actual event in the vein of Murals in the Market, with all the artists there at the same time. And there was meant to be like a big event and everything. And then it just ended up being each individual artist came up whenever that worked for them. And I didn't manage to get up there until the week that the weather sucked. So,
and no one gave you the heads up?
No, well, no. I don't know. I mean, when you're planning something like that, and you're planning like a week, and you've got to organize your lift, and you got to organize a lot of things, and you're traveling and everything, like, you can't always be prepared for everything, And I knew that, like, I was conscious of the fact that it was going to get cold, and so we almost, like, I was really pushing to get up earlier, but just with all the organizational sort of bits and bobs, it just happened to land on those dates,
Right.
And so it was fine, it was like, I would actually prefer to paint when it's cold as opposed to ungodly hot. Because, I wasn't prepared clothing wise, but I just went to REI and got some fleece pants and a down jacket and went back to business, and it worked out really well. So it was the wind that sucked the most, not the cold, So
I know.
It did take a little longer than usual to it took a little longer than it would have to complete because I was working shorter days because of the weather, but it was not as much of a disaster as it could have been.
So have you had?
Not that it wasn't a disaster at all. Let's just.
Are you speaking from experience? What's a disastrous experience you've gone through?
I mean, like, if it's like pouring down rain the whole time, for example.
Yeah, have you had that happen where you showed up to do work and you had like a festival?
I've
days of work and it just rained.
I've had it happen where I've lost like 3 days in a row due to weather. Ooh. And that's just stressful. I mean, you make it work, but it's just stressful because it cuts off, like, you have a limited amount of time to get your work done. Mm-hmm. And like, this is not an uncommon story. I think any artist who is on here who's done any of these events can say, like, it has a story of their own,
Right.
But
so what happens in a situation like that? Do you end up stretching your schedule, or do you just try to cram it into the amount of days that you have?
Yeah, you pretty much just bust it out. Like, do your best, give it your all, like, in the time that you have. Lots of artists like work, like, go in the middle of the night and work late or start early or whatever. Like, if you're in a festival and you've been given the amount, like, you have a plane ticket home on a certain day,
right,
not much you can do about it,
Absolutely, right. That's once again, I love talking about this stuff because I know it, but I love for people to hear it from you guys with some of the trials and tribulations that you go through between. Usually, when we do festivals in September, and it's usually hot as hell down here at that for us, and then to have people up on the scissor lift at that time is hell for them, man.
It's hell. I've painted. Yeah, when I was in there the first year, it was hot as hell, and there was no shade. Like, I was at the end of, I don't remember what street I was on, but there was like nothing around that was going to even remotely protect me from the sun. Right. And it sucked. I'd rather be cold. So
Right on. So what's coming up in the? I mean, well, what's going on for you right now? Did we already? I mean, so we might have touched on, but what's going on for you right now? You working on any projects that you want to let everybody know about?
I've got three commissions going on right now, and a couple of others that are kind of still being negotiated. I've got and most of these are North Carolina projects. I've got a residential development in Winston-Salem coming up, and a commission for a cryotherapy spot that's in Raleigh. And what else is there? There's another one I'm forgetting. And then just trying to kind of wrap things up and get them ready to be able to bust it out after Christmas, you know?
Yeah. So
So,
when is your next break? I mean, we were talking about earlier how it's important to know when it's. I mean, you sound like you are cranking, 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 and
I
you're one of
feel
those.
pretty busy right now, but it's all good. And my break is going to be Christmas,
Mm,
you know, that like that week, I guess.
okay.
But then like right after New Year's, I start again.
Just getting right back into it, man.
Hmm.
That's what's
I
up.
mean, it's like I have, I have rest. I have enough rest, so I don't worry about that. But, um, you know, something will slow down at some point. You just kind of never know. Like as soon as I feel like as soon as I feel like it's starting to wind down, I get like more requests. So that's that's a good problem to have, you
How do
know.
you determine which projects to do since so many are coming in?
Um,
Do you
various
feel
criteria. It's
bad?
like sometimes it's like if I want to do it, which is like, oh, say hi to my dog. She's saying hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Oh,
Mina.
Bobby.
She wants
I love
attention. She doesn't know
I,
what I'm doing, staring
I
into the
love
phone.
dogs. My dog's
Yeah,
the same way.
yeah.
We're almost done. We're
We're
almost
almost done.
done.
Um, but if it's the right project, sometimes people come to me and want a certain thing, and you know, I can kind of ascertain what they're really looking for, whether they really want like my work or whether they just kind of want a mural.
Right,
And
right.
a lot of times it's determined on budget and content and that kind of thing. And so like if I don't feel like I'm the right person for it, like I won't take it, and I'll almost always recommend somebody. But
Okay.
um and then, other times it's like things fall through the cracks just because that's how things work. Um I do get undercut a lot.
Oh, oh.
Um
So is that a
as a
problem in the world? Like, you know, you know, in Detroit a long time ago, one of my teachers, I'm a digital art teacher, and so I used to do that 20 years ago, undercut other artists. And she pulled me aside and she said, "Don't ever do that again because it belittles the art and it makes you. I mean, besides making you look like
Yeah.
an asshole, but it really makes us all have to, play this game of bullshit." Do you find that people undercutting and situations like that are an issue?
Yeah, and I don't mean to have the connotation be like that it's ever malicious or intentional. It's just that people, sometimes like there are other artists who will do work for way cheaper, and it really has to do with the client, you know? And that's like any client who kind of just wants paint on the wall and doesn't really care about the content might not be the ideal client for me anyway. So I don't get
Right?
like can't get too mad about it. Like I did lose one job that I was kind of excited about because the building owner came in and was adamant that he get like more walls painted for less money.
Right,
You know?
right.
And I was like, well, I respect that. You will find somebody who can do it for that amount, but it's not going to be me. So
Nah, man, you can't. When you come up with a price, you got to stick to it, and I respect
yeah,
that. So, if there's anything you can tell everybody about yourself, that we didn't get into this because the time flew by. We're so concerned with, I think, the rain and my umbrella going away. I lost like 10 minutes. But if you could tell anybody watching right now anything about you that you want them to know about you that we haven't covered, talk to me about
I mean, I already told everybody how fun I am, so I think that's pretty much all anyone needs to know.
it. That's it. Invite Taylor to the party. Is
Yeah, and I'll go anywhere I'm invited. If you got something going on in your city, like reach out. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, and check out my website, taylorwhite.art.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
see,
can be
you
contacted by
took it
email
from me.
there. So
You stole it from me. My next question was gonna be, how can we support you and how can we get your stuff? But there it is, right
yeah,
there, man.
tell your friends about me.
I mean, her art is amazing. If you haven't checked it out, man, I mean, that's what drew me to you. Like I said, before we even got here, I was already like, this is awesome. And then when I saw you in Ann Arbor, I'm like, wait a minute, this is way too weird that I just started liking her on Instagram. Now she's in Ann Arbor. And then Paige called and she's like, what do you think about Taylor? And I'm like, wait a minute, this is way too effing weird. So I'm glad we finally got to meet. Hopefully I can come down, hang out with the dog when this is all over. Check out the studio. One day, maybe we'll go on can we go on a tour of the studio one of these days?
Yeah, why not? You can DM me or whatever, and we'll talk about that.
I'll give you a heads up so you can clean up and make sure it's good to go.
Yeah,
Thanks,
for sure.
thanks for hanging out with me today. If once again, we do this every Saturday, everybody. Thank you, Taylor. I hope to see you in Michigan, man. I hope to see you in
Yeah,
Detroit, not Ann
I'd
Arbor.
love to come back. Let me at some of those opportunities up there.
You hear that,
Back
Rula?
again.
Rula's got rooms in her house, man. So we should
Yeah.
have just like a slumber party, like we can all get tested and then have one. You know what I'm saying? I'm inviting you to Rula's house right now, Rula and Jesse's crib. It's all good. It's on me.
Yeah, right on.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks so
All right,
much.
thank you.
All right, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. We made it through the rain. We braved it. Man, it wasn't even as bad as I even thought it was going to be. Yeah, I lost an umbrella. It was a casualty. I'm going to start a Patreon so you guys can chip in situations like that, man, because that was $60 down the drain. Actually, I'm going to try to send it back to Amazon. Anyway, you guys heard me talking about producer Paige. She doesn't know she's producer Paige, but there she is. That's Paige right there. She's the one that makes this happen. I'm just the guy who shows up here and stands in the rain. She's the person who makes the phone calls, and she goes way beyond that. And I'm actually going to do an interview with her soon, indoors, because she is a huge cog in this piece of all of this machine. So for everybody who's always asking me, they always say, who's that girl who runs by in the background? It is Paige, and she makes this whole thing happen. Thank you, everybody, for coming on once again to Murals in the Market Live. Thank you to Taylor White for hanging out with us. Next week, I'm gonna save the announcement because it's huge. This one's one of the bigger ones right here. I gotta do some homework and I gotta do, yeah. All right, I'm gonna announce this one on check my Instagram, check the Facebook, check Murals in the Market's Instagram. Once again, not only do we stand out in the rain and do Murals in the Market Live, we do walking tours this time of year of Murals in the Market at Ride Detroit. So if you want more information on that, you can go to ridedetroit.com and see what we're talking about. It's an hour-and-a-half long tour. It's supposed to be an hour, but I usually go an hour and a half because how can I fit all this awesomeness really in an hour? Please go give me a follow on Instagram, Jason of All Trades, trying to get that up. And go subscribe to the Ride Detroit YouTube channel. You can check out this interview that will be up later on the Instagram for Murals in the Market, and it'll also be on my YouTube page. All right, everybody, I hope I got everything in there. I hope everybody had a great time. Taylor, thank you again. I'll see you guys next Saturday. I'm saying right now I'm going to be outside, all right? Whether it's snowing or not, I will be outside. I'm calling it now, all right?